Okay, so I'm here today with possibly one of my favourite people ever. Last year you could see her in the Menier Chocolate Factory's production of Diary of Adrian Mole, more recently playing Mrs. Cratchit in Lester Cove's Christmas production of Scrooge, and she's currently appearing as Eve in the UK premiere of Ruthless at the Arts Theatre in London. It's Lara Denning. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very, very good, thank you for asking. And we're here today at your lovely house in Biggleswade. Where exactly are we?
We're in Bedfordshire.
Okay, and it's like how far out of London?
2 counties up from London. But never fear, it's only 40 minutes away from London King's Cross, so it's not too bad. It's a commuter town.
And how long have you lived here?
4 years this month, I think. Yeah, four years this month.
And what was it? Because obviously being a working actress, you know, doing jobs in London, what was it that kind of made you think, oh, I'm going to move out here? Because it's not easy, is it? It's not. Is it the easy option to live out here?
Not in terms of travel, but I think it got to a point where me and my fiance, we kind of just got a little bit priced out of London, I think. And also we had loads of friends in Biggleswade. We call it the Biggleswade Massive and the Showbiz Express. So lots of us live in Biggleswade. So kind of become a little bit of community. So it's really nice, actually. Because I'm from Blackpool, so it's like a home from home.
Yeah, I think you get to that point in life when you just think you kind of outgrow London.
Yeah, and we're getting married this year. We've got a dog and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And we've got a 4-bedroom house now. And stuff, so whereas we'd only be able to afford like a 1-bedroom flat.
Yeah, if you were lucky,
a really
yeah.
tiny box room.
So you're currently starring in Ruthless, which is playing at the Arts. How's that going?
Really well. It's bonkers.
Yeah.
But really fun. And
can you tell us, for those people who don't know, can you kind of sum up the show in a few words? Can you tell us about it?
It's based on one of my favourite films of all time, All About Eve, starring Bette Davis.
Which is coming to the West End with Kate Blanchett,
yes,
isn't it? Yeah,
it is. And it's also kind of loosely based on Gypsy and Mame. And so it's a farce, comedy farce, really.
There's kind of kitsch classics, all about kind of fame-hungry...
Yeah. If you like campness and you like a little bit of like almost noises off stuff, if that's your kind of taste, then you're going to really love it. Okay.
And really what an incredible cast. Harriet Thorpe, Tracy Bennett.
Yeah.
Amazing. Jason Gardner. What an amazing...
And then me.
Yeah. Wow. You're a star in your own living room. That's...
Oh.
And were you aware of their work before... Did you know them? Or?
I mean, Harriet Thorpe since like Mr. Precious, you know, in
the British Empire, yeah.
God, yeah, I used to always love the fact that she used to hide her children in a cup in the
drawers
cabinet.
Yeah.
So I loved her since then. And then I think Harriet actually taught at my college, at my university, when I was there studying. So that was a treat. She came in one day. She won't remember, but she did. And that was a real treat. Treat. And Tracy, God, yeah, I mean, Tracy's done everything. So, but particularly her Judy Garland in
End of the
Rainbow was sensational. It was amazing. So I was super excited to work with both of them. And Jason, of course, does Dancing on Ice. So and also Kim as well, because Kim's obviously come from the off-Broadway production to come in with us. And she's just settling in brilliantly and she's so lovely. And yeah, it's a real honour to be. I know it sounds really like it's a real honour, but it really is. They are
an amazing group of people,
you know, people and professionals, and it's great.
Well, we'll talk about a little bit more about Ruthless later, but I kind of want to start at the very beginning, as it were, with you.
At the very beginning.
Do you know what? I did this with Alice, our friend, and she did the exact same thing.
No, she didn't.
When I said I want to start at the very beginning, she sung that to me. So, and you're best friends, so that kind of works out perfectly.
Out well, doesn't it?
So you've already kind of mentioned that you're from Blackpool.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about that. You're from Blackpool. Tell me a bit about your childhood, kind of growing up, what your parents do. So
my mum used to be an opera singer.
No way.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. No.
Yeah, she used to be an opera singer, and then she got nodules.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
And she kind of had a bit of a bad time with that. And my dad is a comedian. I mean, it all runs in the family. And my dad kind of urged her, because she's quite a funny lady, my dad urged her to possibly try comedy as a possible route that if the voice never kind of fully came back, she could fall back on. And it turns out she was really funny. So then she became a comedian. Then the voice kind of came back. she then kind of amalgamated the two, and she did really well in Blackpool for a bit, and then she's now a cruise director.
That's incredible. So
Yeah.
a very showbiz family. I just want to, because obviously Blackpool is a little bit of a showbiz capital of the north, isn't it? It's a little bit like the northern Las Vegas, isn't it? It's kind of the cheap man's Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So were they originally from Blackpool, or did they move to Blackpool because they were entertainers?
So this is a really good story, actually. My dad's from Glasgow. My mum's from Birmingham. They met on a show called Stars in Their Eyes. Not the actual Stars in Their Eyes that we know.
My eyes just popped out my head.
I know, yeah. On a variety show called Stars in Their Eyes. That's where they met. And then they moved to Scotland, had my brother, who's also in the business. He's in a rock band in Vegas. Funny to talk about Vegas. He went from Blackpool to Vegas. And then they came down to Blackpool for a charity event or something, and they met Les Dawson. Les Dawson took a liking to my dad and said, my dad's a comedian and also done lots of stuff in his life, but mainly that. And he said to them, listen, there's nothing going on apart from here. This is the place you need to be. You guys definitely need to be here. So they upped sticks and moved, and that was because of Les Dawson. How crazy is that?
Because they needed to be somewhere where they could use what they got, as it were.
And Les used to babysit me, and
No
Joe
way.
Longthorne did, and it was all like amazing.
That's crazy. So real kind of showbiz upbringing for you.
But you know what? Like, they never pushed us into it. Like, my brother at one point wanted to become a marine biologist until he figured out he needed to, actually kind of, study and do things. So then he decided that actually being in a rock band was better.
And that's a good, but so it is a massive coincidence that both your parents are entertainers and both you and your brother have gone into
I
showbiz.
think they never pushed it, but I think we lived and breathed it, didn't we? If you're being babysat by Joe Longthorne and Les Dawson, it's probably going to happen.
And was there ever a doubt for you, like there was for your brother, that you might do something else, or was it always a given that you were going to be in entertainment?
For me, it wasn't. My brother was umming and ahhing for ages, but for me, I always kind of knew. I think I was always the one that singing Phantom of the Opera and dressing up like Bette Midler.
Oh, really? So was it always musicals, or was it just entertainment in general?
My dad's really into film noir and black and white movies and classics and Edward Woodward and all that kind of stuff. So silent movies. So I was always kind of obsessed with things like that. Campy things. I know you'd be surprised to know that. But yeah, musicals, yeah. I mean, Singing in the Rain was my favourite film musical to watch. I used to watch it all the time. But I really enjoyed scripts. I really liked scripts. Really enjoyed me and James my brother used to reenact stuff in our room, and it was just. And also,
little shows.
I was giving my age away. I was of the time when Starlight Express, Les Mis, Phantom, Miss Saigon, all these major epic, Sunset Boulevard. Those are the ones I would listen to, and they were just so epic and so breathtaking. And then my mum and dad took us down to London to see those ones I've just said. Mac and Mabel with Caroline O'Connor. We went to see Copacabana with Gary Wilmot and Nicola Dawn. We just saw loads of different stuff, and I kind of fell in love with it. I enjoyed the fact that it was kind of more than words, that there was the impact that music had on you to tell a story when it was told well.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, the difference between, plays and musicals, isn't it? Is when you've got the addition of music, it can become, like you say, if it's done well, so much more powerful. Yeah. And so what was it, how do you go from kind of being in Blackpool to getting to the West End? I mean, I know you because you're a good friend of mine. That was a long journey for you. Yeah. To go from that to being in Matilda and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and all these shows you've done. But what was the first part of that journey? How did you kind of go, okay, I'm heading in that direction? Well,
I went to dance school like we all did. Went to a place called Sue Turner's. And then from there, I met, this sounds like a Blackpool variety treasure chest, but basically the niece of the Chuckle Brothers got me a job with Keith Harris. I mean, I've just clanged two people in 3 seconds. But and I started working for Keith Harris as Keith Harris's Cuddles for a bit. I used to dress up in like the orange outfit and do all that. So
How old were you at this point?
9, 10,
Okay.
something like that. So Debbie got me involved with that. And then she taught me dance. She kind of moved me into more of a kind of the modern style of dance that was happening and singing and things like that. And then my mum helped me with stuff like that. But then I then went to BTEC, and then I thought, okay, this is what I want to do, definitely. I'm going to try out for drama schools. So then I went to drama school. But the interesting thing was that I was a big fish in a small pond in Blackpool. And by the time I got to drama college, that was a
I think that's the case for a lot of people. That's always a big shock, isn't it? When you go from being kind of fairly well known and people are really kind of rooting for you and nurturing you and encouraging you in your smaller. And I also think that's a part of being younger as well. I think when you're young, people are really excited about the possibilities for you and they want to encourage you. So sometimes, not all the time. But then I think the kind of wake-up call is when you get to London or you get to that drama school and you get to that play and you think, oh, everyone has been nurtured and everyone is at the same level as me.
It's quite daunting. For me, it kind of broke me a bit. Not in a like a tragic way, just in a kind of, it really, there was Alice Fern, who's obviously part of the podcast. There was Connie Fisher, Sarah Earnshaw. I mean, God blimey, my year was incredible. And they were already brilliant. And it kind of was a bit, I actually lost my confidence a little bit, quite a bit actually. And it took some building to get kind of the confidence back. But that was just once I'd left college, I met Nick Winston, who's a choreographer. And Nick I met him on the third year show of Mount View. And he saw something in me and he took me on board, and I became his assistant on a concert with for Grease the musical. Caroline Sheen and Darren Day and David Shannon and Craig Abani, like massive cast, and Rachel Stanley, massive cast. And I became his assistant for that, and then I did another couple of things, and then I did another couple of things for him, and then I was in a couple of his shows. And I have a lot for him to thank. I have a lot to thank him for, because he kind of saw something in me and kind of helped me kind of go behind the scenes a little bit and kind of build up from there. And some people left college and went straight into the West End, straight into touring, straight into big shows. But for me, it was, about 4 years. Well, what would you say, 4 or 5? I would say 4 or 5 years. I guess
so, yeah. I mean, until you started getting the kind of work that you wanted. I mean, you were still working, but I think
I was working loads,
not at the level that you wanted to be.
Yeah.
I want to go back a little bit and talk about that idea you kind of mentioned of losing your confidence or something. I'm assuming it was because you were surrounded by these big personalities and you felt intimidated.
Yeah. I think also I probably had. I do remember that when I was in Blackpool, I still had a little bit of confidence issues. It wasn't as big because I was kind of the one that everyone was looking out for, so that I kind of had that boost of confidence. But I kind of struggled a little bit, I think. And then when I got down to London, and you move to a different place, God, you move to a city instead of a town, and you meet all these amazing people. It's really, I became actually the actress rather than the singer and the dancer that I was at home, because I used that as a tool, like, I'm maybe not as good as at the singing as these people are, and maybe not as good as the dancing as these people are, but I think I'm okay. I'm okay at acting, so I'll go with that. And also, when you sing, your nerves show so much more. Like when you go into an audition for singing, like if you do have a wobble, you have a wobble. And
it's exposing, isn't it? Because you either hit the note or you don't.
Or you don't. Whereas with acting, with text, it was different. But I had a voice, but I just didn't have my voice that I've got now. I know that sounds really strange, but I didn't. I didn't quite know where I fit within the.
It's really interesting. You talk about. You had these insecurities when you went into training, and to some people that might sound kind of strange. The thought of someone who had insecurities wanting to go into an industry where you're constantly on show. But that's actually a common trait in so many performers, isn't it?
Yeah.
What do you think that is? Like, that's always interested me, that the people who are perhaps most insecure tend to gravitate towards performing.
Yeah.
Because, we both know so many actors and so many performers in the business. And there is that crippling insecurity in quite a large number of them. And that's something that I think a lot of people wouldn't expect of this business.
Yeah.
And I wonder whether it's, the chicken or the egg. Which came first? Is it the insecurity which leads you into a need to be praised publicly? Or is it the business that makes you insecure?
Do you know what? I think it's weird. I found this only recently I've really thought about this question, but I think I don't really like being the centre of attention for things, and I'm quite campy and quite showbiz, and I love quite a confident person when you meet me and blah. But I actually, when it comes to birthdays and Christmases and events, and I'm getting married in September and things like that, I haven't mentioned I'm getting married in September, and my anxiety, I get a bit like, oh God, and I get really funny. And I thought, God, I really don't think I like being the centre of attention. And again, I was like, why am I in this business then? Why is that something that, and I think, in fact, I think I know, is that it's you, when you embody a character, you become that character, you hide. So therefore you're not Lara Denning anymore. You are whoever you're playing, Mrs. Cratchit, or even Ruthless, like I'm doing at the minute. Like you can hide and become someone else, which is, I know a lot of people who are very, very shy, but as soon as they become a different character, they just come alive. And
it's a disguise.
It's a disguise. It's a different thing. And actually, I started using it in auditions. I started creating an alter ego for myself.
I give people that advice a lot.
It's the best advice ever, because
auditions are such a bizarre situation.
They're bizarre. They're clinical. It's really hard, and it takes a while to become yourself. I learned, the hard way. You just have to go in and just be yourself. And there's a brilliant interview from Bryan Cranston in Breaking Bad, and he just says you just have to go in, give them what you've got, and if they don't like it, that's fine. You just walk away. One day they'll just go, yeah, that is you, and that's fine. It's a big thing that must be spoken about, which is the just looking after yourself mentally. I mean, I was up for a very big part last year, and I got down to the last two, and I didn't get it, and I was like, and I gave myself such a hard time about it. And then I stopped and went, hold on, hang on, I nearly got that. And I was down to last. Well done, that's amazing. And I've learned to kind of stop going, well, I didn't get that, I'm a failure, to actually, crikey, that was a pretty good role to nearly get.
And there's so much work that goes on that people don't see in this business, isn't there? You know, I mean, not just in terms of auditions and stuff, but the rehearsal process and the amount of stuff that goes in. And then, of course, you're judged off that 2-hour performance. So that's a big thing. I think an important thing to remember in this business is. Actually, it's not just about those 2 hours on stage, but it's about maintaining a career and an interest and an energy. And
but by creating the alter ego, that is like the key. My alter ego is Red Mahoney. That's what she's called. Red Mahoney is mine, and it detaches you. So it's not Lara Denning going into a room. It's a different. So you can almost kind of, like Beyonce does it.
Oh yeah. A lot of big performers do. Yeah.
It just helps. And do you know what? It started to. I kind of took the advice that Bryan Cranston did in this interview. I thought, God, I just need to just kind of chill out and just give them what I've got. Do the work. Make sure you are prepared. Make sure you know your song properly. Make sure you just yourself. Go in, see if they like it. If they do, brilliant. If they don't hammer yourself about it. It is what it is.
So going back, so you leave drama school, you go out into the business, and you mentioned before that you perhaps weren't doing the shows that you wanted to do immediately.
Yeah.
That you had to wait a little while until those roles started coming.
Yeah, and also for me to gain the confidence and the audition technique that I did.
So do you think, kind of looking back at that time, do you think that the reason you weren't getting those parts or you weren't getting the jobs that you wanted was purely down to the way you handled yourself in an audition room? Or do you think it was down to something else?
I think about 75% of it was
Really?
yeah, and the rest was probably I just wasn't right or wasn't, I don't know. But
that must be so difficult to know that you can do it, but to not be able to represent yourself in the 5 minutes that you get for an audition.
Yeah, it's very infuriating. And then the problem is then you just start to blame yourself and you go, why are you doing? And you get het up and you get annoyed.
And then I imagine that doesn't help for the next audition or the next audition or the next. So you get into a bit of a funk.
Yeah, you do. So you just have to kind of have a word is that. I mean, I had an agent when I left college, and then I managed to get myself one of my first kind of, I say big jobs, was All the Fun and the Fair with Nikolai Foster and David Essex. And the girl who was in the ensemble with me, she said, oh, my sister's an agent. And I said, oh, okay, cool. And I said, she wouldn't meet with me, would she? You know, because my agent that I have, you know, I'm not getting that many auditions. And the problem is when you don't get an audition for 4 months and then it's Les Mis, and then you go, oh my God, it's Les Mis, it's huge. But when you start to get like 5 or 6 or 7 auditions a week, or then it starts to be in your diary, go to this audition, meet someone for coffee, go and do this, it becomes a part of your daily life. Therefore, that takes away the pressure. The pressure. Yeah. Of course it does.
Yeah, because it's a big build-up. If you're out of practice in terms of auditions and singing in front of people, when that big audition does come up, it becomes a huge thing because you haven't sung in front of anyone for 3 weeks.
Exactly.
So yeah.
So that helped, and as soon as Sarah took me on,
you're still with that same agent now.
Yeah, I am. Wow. Yeah.
So just quickly again, just because I find this whole thing so interesting. Those years, because we will get on to, since those years have passed, you've become very successful, and I'm pleased to have seen that. You know, being such a good friend of yours, but those years when things weren't going so well, how do you stay interested? How do you keep on keeping on?
I think there must have been a belief system in me. There must have been. Otherwise, I'd have just gone, do you know what? Like me and Nick, my fiance, we worked in a bar together in those kind of years. And I could have easily became a bar manager and just gone, do you know what? It's not happening. Let's just leave it. And, you know, we did speak about it at one point because I was like, I just don't know if I can keep doing this. And so there must have been
keep doing what?
Just keep I don't want to say failing because failing is the wrong word. That's the word I used, but it's not really that. It's just
keep risking that, like with the idea that it might not pay off.
Yeah, yeah. And so I must have had a belief system. And do you know what? Interestingly enough, I just kept doing little jobs. And
acting jobs, you mean, as opposed to
acting jobs as well as my bar work. But I was in a show called Gotta Sing, Gotta Dance, which Nick Winston choreographed. Keep mentioning that name, but he is fabulous. And it was a 5-hander, and it involved us all singing and dancing and doing things like that. And 1 minute you're doing Knees Up Mother Brown, the next minute you're singing I Dreamed a Dream, the next minute you're doing this, so you don't have time to think. And it was a 5-hander, so we all had to do everything, and it was a collaborative show, so I could kind of hide behind the team of it. But then all of a sudden I'm being thrust upon to sing I Dreamed a Dream or whatever. I think one of the things I sang was Don't Cry For Me Argentina or something. And that was like a major game change. That's the
so
one.
It's a bit of it's the making of you in terms of you were forced out front to sing huge numbers in front of big audiences, whether you liked it or not.
Whether I liked it or not. And actually it kind of made me go, okay, well, I can sing that. Okay, that's good. I can do that. I can do that. And then slowly but surely the confidence building blocks start to get, you know, a bit more solid. And then I'm going to auditions and instead of getting cut on first rounds or second rounds, I'm all of a sudden just nudging myself. Oh, and now I'm at finals now. I mean, I had a really tough year that I had 15 finals in a year. And I didn't get one of them. Oh,
so for those people who don't know, a final means the final audition for a show. So you got down to basically the last round of auditions for 15 jobs.
Yeah, in 1 year.
And you didn't get any of them.
No.
How do you bounce back from that? I don't know how that must be. I mean, I do know because I've been through it myself. Maybe not 15, but it's so hard to keep going, isn't it? Like, for me, it's interesting what you say. There must have been a belief system. I when I asked the same question to myself, the answer is I couldn't accept that the answer was no.
Yeah.
I couldn't accept that it wasn't going to work. So that's what kept me. It was almost a denial, a slight delusion on my part.
Yeah. But by the time I got to the finals, I was just really happy I was getting to finals. Like, at that point, I was like, yes, I'm getting better. I'm showing them what I can do. This is great. This is really good. And then, yeah, it did get to probably about the 5th one or 6th one where I was just like, come on, give me a break.
But eventually it did break for you, and you did a few really, really exciting jobs kind of in a row. I know my prime memory of when things started to really change for you was you did the tour of All the Fun of the Fair with starring David Essex, directed by Nikolai Foster.
Yeah.
And you also did the Rocky Horror Show in Germany. Was that before or afterwards?
That was afterwards. I did a European tour.
Right.
Of Rocky Horror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's for me, I don't know about you, but that for me when I really thought, okay, things are really changing for Lara now, because she's doing shows, major tours, and shows that people know and have heard of.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about All the Fun of the Fair. How was that? And because I know that you became really good friends with David Essex.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I'm pretty much friends with everyone that I did that job with, because it was a brilliant job. I was so excited. A girl called Tanya Robb, who's a dear friend of mine, she played the role of Alice, and I understudied that role. And I think we were about 2 weeks into the show, and she broke her foot.
I remember this, yeah.
And I was put on in the evening of the show. It was a matinee she did it, I think. Was it Southport? I think it was Southport.
Where I'm from.
No, it can't be Southport. Somewhere.
It was somewhere.
It was Southend.
Southend, yeah.
It was Southend. I remember it. And she broke her foot, and I was like, oh, okay, crikey. I'd never understudied before. I was on my stuff, like I knew what I was doing, and then I remember just going on, and again.
Yeah,
because it was fast, because I couldn't think about it. I was like, okay, let's do it.
No time to second guess it.
And then I remember, it was such an amazing moment. I remember just having this massive hand on my shoulder, and it was David's hand, because he's got huge hands, and he just went, and he looked at me with his baby blues. He went, you did all right, kiddo. You went, well done, you're fantastic. And I just went, well, if David Essex says that, I've got to stop now. Like, come on, I've got to stop getting in my own way. I've kind of just got to believe and go. Great. And then I was on for 6 weeks, which again was just so helpful. And then Tam came back, bless her, which was great. But again, that was quite difficult. You're on for 6 weeks, and then you go back to your
ensemble track. You've got to hand it over.
You've got to hand it back. But
and then shortly after that, Rocky Horror, which you did. So you said it was a European tour. Did you play any dates over here, or did you just do?
No, we did Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Spain, and a bit of France, I think it was. Incredible. Yeah, that was incredible. Yeah, seeing the world as well, amazing.
And what was it like being out of Britain? What was it like working abroad? Was that something you wanted to do at the time, or was it something that you took because you felt you had to? Opportunity-wise or career-wise? I think opportunity and career-wise, And also, I was 26, something like that? So it was exciting. It was exciting to go away. 26 sounds so young now. I know, doesn't it? Oh, God. Oh, God. Yeah, I was young, and, I was really excited, and the show was fun. I always loved the show. So it was great. And do you know what was great about the German tour was that they were very happy for the understudies, because I understudied all 3 of the girls, and they were really happy for you to go on whenever you wanted to, as long as you asked the girl playing the part if she wanted a night off, which of course they all did. So when my parents were there and when I had friends over, I'd just be like, Jalenga, who played Magenta, who's my best friend, now we met on that tour, she was like, mate, your parents are here, I'll go off. No worries. So she ended up sitting in the audience watching me do her part as Magenta with my parents, and they were all crying, they were really proud, and it was great. And yeah, really great to kind of be able to do those parts loads of times. And they're all very different as well, Janet, Columbia and Magenta. Again, so challenge, just little mini challenges for myself, And then you come back and you kind of set up shop in London for a little while.
My West End debut.
Yeah. So your first show in London was
Matilda.
I mean, that's pretty good first West End credit.
I mean, I did get to a point where I was like, well, if this is what I was meant to be waiting for, you know.
And did you do, because obviously it started in Stratford with that original company.
Yeah.
Then it came in to the West End, to the Cambridge.
Yeah.
Did you do that first year or did you do the second year?
I did the second year.
Right. So you were in pretty soon though, early doors.
Yeah, early
considering
doors.
It's now in its 6th or 7th year?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So you were quite early on. And talk a little bit about that. I mean, you must have just been, I mean, it was the show that everyone was talking about and to some extent still are.
Yeah.
That must have just been such an amazing moment for you.
Over the moon. I remember talking to you on the phone about it as well. I couldn't believe it. It was amazing. I was, first cover Miss Honey. I was second cover Wormwood. I was playing the acrobat. It was just a dream come true. Like, it really was. The script's insane. The music's insane. The choreography's fantastic. Like, for me, it's like one of the most perfect shows. They worked hard. They workshopped it for years. It's one of the perfect show. And what was lucky about me when I went in was they were looking to push it to Broadway. Mm-hmm. So all the creatives were in the room in our rehearsals. There was Peter Darling, and then there was Tim Minchin, and then there was Matthew Watchers, and then it was Dennis Kelly, and then it was just... Yeah, so it was like doing the show in rehearsals. And then what happened was I'd stayed in the show and had the most incredible time. I couldn't have asked for a better time. And then Hayley, who was playing Miss Honey, wanted some time off. She wanted to stay in the show, but she'd been in the show for quite a while. She wanted some time off. And then, they said, do you want to play Miss Honey?
While she was away.
While she was away. They said, we'd like you to play Honey. And because I already had left at that point, and they said, will you come back and play Honey? And so I literally went from having a West End debut as an ensemble cover, which was amazing for me, to then leaving that show being a lead, which of course changed everything.
Yeah, it's that really changed the trajectory of your career.
It kind of felt like the 6 or 7 years I struggled, I'd been fast tracked. Mm-hmm. That's how it feels. It feels like it was like, okay, well, that happened, so we need to get this done nice and quickly. Mm-hmm. So and all the pieces kind of fit into place. It was mental.
What an amazing thing to happen, and what a high to go out of that show playing the kind of female lead role. Yeah, incredible, amazing. And then you kind of skipped, hop and jumped over town at the other side of town
to another Roald
Dahl show.
Yes.
And you played Mrs. Bucket for 2 years at Drury Lane in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
A year and a half it was, yeah.
Okay, amazing. And talk about that, because, I mean, that show was...
epic.
Massive.
Yeah.
It was absolutely gigantic. Mm-hmm. What is it like being an actor on that stage in that production? You must feel dwarfed by how huge that set is, and it's just such a huge thing.
I remember in tech coming into the theatre, and we obviously had the health and safety walk about the theatre and stuff, and it was like, the Cambridge is a lovely theatre, but it's very small.
It's intimate, isn't it? Yeah.
I suddenly realised that I needed to kind of literally hinge my neck back a couple of more inches to get to the top when, you're...
Drury Lane.
When you're singing your song or you're doing your... whatever the scene you're doing, you kind of realise that if you keep your head to a certain level, people can't see you, so you have to kind of... It was amazing. I mean... I used to take lots of... This sounds really kind of cheesy, but I did used to take moments of just like, oh my God.
It's one of the most legendary spaces in London, theatrically speaking.
Yeah.
It's an amazing, amazing theatre. And it was a really great show. So much fun.
So much fun.
And I remember going into it, I know you felt like you wanted to do something. You wanted to challenge the part a little bit. And you didn't want to do... you didn't want to play... I think I remember you saying you didn't want to play the kind of tragedy of it. You wanted to kind of challenge that a little bit.
Well, my thought process was... Any family who are poor, who are downtrodden, they don't go round talking hello, you know. They're not like that. They have to bring the joy and the hope constantly, which of course the other actors did who played the roles too. But I think me and Chris and Derek, I had 2 husbands, went through 2 of them. We kind of very much wanted to play so much the hope and the joy, and it ended up just being so much fun. And the grandparents as well in the bed, and they were all naughty, them lot. And again, you know, you're working with Myra Sands and Barry James and the late great Ronnie Page, and you just go, this is amazing. Lap it up. Listen to the old stories. And I remember Wayne Sleep came to the stage door for Myra and just kind of went, oh, Myra, can't you smell the memories? And I was like, yes. You know, Myra still can get her leg off. It's brilliant. It's amazing.
And of course, that show closed a little bit earlier than you thought it was going to do. Is that right? It closed
in the January thing instead of the May. It was meant to finish in the May. I think it closed in the January.
And was that your first experience of being in a show that kind of got its notice a little bit earlier than the cast expected?
I mean, I've obviously had the experience of doing a tour, knowing when the tour date's going to finish.
Yeah.
But actually having the notice. But we all kind of knew they were really good. Warner Brothers and Playful were really good. And they told us like 7 months before. They just said, we want to ride out on a high. Because January and February is always a bit of a lull in the West End anyway. Well, anywhere, I think, because Christmas has happened and everyone starts panicking. So they said, we just really want to end on a high, do Christmas, have a lovely old time, and we're going to end in January rather than May. Rather than go through the lull to then only just do Easter, which is the big thing. So they just decided, but they let us know in good time, and they were brilliant company. It's fantastic.
So it wasn't too much of a sting then?
No, it wasn't like 2 weeks notice and you're out.
Which does happen.
Yeah, it happens all the time. Luckily, touch wood, I haven't experienced that.
And since then you've gone on and you've done, I think last year and this year have been probably the most interesting part of your career to date, because and it's been so lovely to watch that as a friend, because you've done these 2 huge shows. And I think in a way, I imagine if I was you, or if I put myself in your position, I imagine that they made you relax and go, okay, I'm worth it, I'm here, I'm doing it, and I've done it, and I can do it.
Yeah.
But then you get to kind of go and do something a little bit interesting. And it's not maybe, you know, and the shows you've done since, Diary of Adrian Mole at the Menier and Scrooge at Curve and now Ruthless at the Arts, they're smaller shows. They're maybe more creative, more artistic in some ways for the actor, because you don't have those huge Charlie and the Chocolate Factory sets.
Yeah.
So it's more about, you know, the actors getting their hands in and helping to tell the story. How's that been for you? Have you enjoyed it? Are you missing the West End? Are you enjoying the challenge of these smaller shows? I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
I mean, the Menier was just incredible. I mean, I played 2 parts, Miss Elf and Doreen Slater. And they were both very, very different. They were fun. They were really funny. I mean, I'd gone from playing Miss Honey and Mrs. Bucket to now playing the town bike and the crazy teacher, which I loved. I loved the fact that it was so different. Also, I created the role. I mean, it was done before in a workshop and at Curve, actually. But they allowed us to they wanted to treat it as a new production. So it felt like I was creating the roles. So that was incredible, and, you know, 5-star reviews, and the show was just ridiculous hit. It was so funny as well and brilliant.
It was a fantastic production. It was so much fun.
It was amazing, and Jake Brunger and Pippa Cleary are just geniuses. They're fantastic, and everyone involved in that production was insanely good. And then moving to the Curve, I was back with Nikolai Foster, which was so lovely. After 8 years, I think it was. So
because he directed All the Fun of the Fair.
He directed All the Fun of the Fair, and he's artistic director of the Curve, and we kind of I think they also co-produced Adrian as well, so I did see him, but it was so amazing to work with him again, and he's such a brilliant director, and he's such a lovely man and a generous guy who again said, listen, let's do Mrs. Cratchit the way you want to do it, let's give it a go. And we made her into quite a matriarchal strong woman character, even though it was in Dickensian London. We really worked hard on that, and to be honest, Mrs. Cratchit was more of a acting role than it was a kind of musical theatre role, as you would say.
That being said, though, you did get to work with the legendary Stephen Mear.
Stephen Mear, yeah.
How is that? Because I mean, I haven't met a single person who doesn't think that he's just the nicest man in the world.
Yeah.
For those people who don't know, Stephen Mear is an incredible, award-winning and much acclaimed choreographer who's worked extensively in London and on Broadway.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that. How was that?
Well, Stephen Mear is just the best. Do you know what it is about Stephen? As well as being a brilliant individual and showbiz and camp and fabulous as he is, he's also a massive team player. You know, he's won 2 Olivier Awards and been nominated for a Tony. He'll love the fact that I've just said this. You know, but yeah, he's so for his ensemble. He enjoys people who work hard, play hard, professional, do their job, do it well, do it properly, and he has the utmost respect for everyone, whether you're third tree from the left or you're the lead. He doesn't differentiate between anyone, and you shouldn't, because the whole production is there because everyone mucks in.
And I think that shows in his work as well. It seems like everyone's valued and everyone's got their kind of moments.
Yeah. And he's become a really, really good friend.
Good. Fantastic. Invitation to the wedding?
Absolutely.
Which is when?
September.
This year. Amazing.
Yeah.
So the countdown is on.
The countdown.
And you were telling me
is
before
on.
that you've already got the dress.
I've already got the dress. Yeah. Which is exciting. I showed you the dress, so I'm thrilled because you like the dress.
I mean,
you would have told me if you didn't like the dress. I know you would have.
I really like the dress. I think it's very you. It's very you. That's all I can say because I know we're not allowed to talk about it. But it's very you. It's really beautiful. And from what you were saying before, I do feel like it may be the showbiz event of the year.
It might just be.
By the guest list you were talking about before.
The old guest
but you've
list.
got to get Ruthless out the way first.
Yeah.
So when does it run till? Do you remember?
June the 23rd.
June 23rd. And then a much-deserved break, I hope, for you.
Yeah, either that or something else comes up.
So where can people find you if they want to have a look for you?
On Twitter, I am at Dame Denning. On Instagram, I'm on Dame_Denning. There's a running thread.
Just to mix it up, yeah.
And then, that's it, isn't it?
I hope so, unless people want to stalk you on Facebook.
Not very good with the old tech.
Okay, well, thanks so much for talking to us today, Lara, and good luck with the rest of the run.
Thank you, Kirk.
Bye.
Bye.